Good morning. Welcome to our 10th Cybersecurity Experts from Home webinar by LSEC. We are broadcasting live today and this morning from out of Leuven, a little bit the center of the world if we take it from our perspective. And that is, of course, much to do with the new normal situation that we are in. Last week we had a bit of a break. It wasn't really a break because we had to focus on some other important things like doing some activities in relation to sales. And this week we are full force back with some very interesting new talks. The 10th, so we should be celebrating, and we can celebrate that here and today with our invited guest speaker from Varonis, Kris Bijnens. Before we kick off, I'll do a couple of short introductory slides and putting a little bit of perspective to the things that we are doing here and that we are working on also over the last couple of months. So we've started this series, Cybersecurity Experts from Home, and we'll continue them likely as it doesn't appear that everybody has returned yet to office, and it doesn't appear that in the next 6 months we'll get into the traditional normal situation. So we define it as the new normal while people are still working from home, as partially myself, but I'm at the office today, and as also Kris is to be working from home. But many of us are considering that remote working is going to be definitely part of this new normal. Many of us also doing distance learning. You could consider these types of webinars or awareness creation also a bit as a distance learning. But there's also some other concepts like the banking and online deliveries. Not that we needed to start from this with thanks to COVID and to the current crisis. We've been doing that definitely before. But it is to be taken into consideration that the new normal also takes quite some new challenges. And when we are considering working from home with our laptops, our personal laptops, that also our kids will be using, Europol is indicating that we should also watch out carefully what it is that we are doing, amongst other things, online. So in that respect, the new normal is being regarded that everybody has to have a beard, and that we are supposed to be wearing face masks, either like this or maybe the ones from the Joker going forward. So this is to also be defined as the new normal. I'm not sure that either one of the two of us, Kris, will apply for this. Remote workers, I think that's quite obvious. That has increased significantly. So while last year, before the COVID crisis, 1 to 25% of the share of employees, and therefore 63% was working remotely. Today, the majority, nearly 3/4 of those 3/4 are really working from home. And that perspective brings, of course, some challenges. The challenges, as we've seen over the last couple of months, means that applications that are still to some extent hosted by our employers need to be accessed. And so accessing managed applications are mainly being done, 65% of those, with personal unmanaged devices. Suddenly you hear from corporate executives of banks where you have some security people from within the bank that will visit the local home office, do inspections, put surveillance cameras all over the place in that particular office. But in most of the cases, we have to consider that our employees will be using their laptops, their personal laptops, to access our applications. And while most of the applications for most companies are still on-prem, which means that they will need to be accessed through a VPN or something of a kind, we do see that there is an increase and a much bigger increase over the last couple of months of companies transforming some of their applications into cloud. So already 42% is working in cloud, but still a large group is working and trying to access those applications on-prem. And so all of these considerations are definitely very relevant for the talk just a little bit later on, which means that we should consider quite a number of threats, remote working threats, unmanaged devices, which has become obvious. Access from outside, the perimeter is meaning much less. So anti-malware protection is definitely needed. And then data leakage is definitely also increasingly happening on the endpoint. So those are definitely things that we need to take care of. Most of the traditional cybercrime challenges are still there. I think the biggest threats of 2019, 2020 are still somewhat related to malware, phishing, and then business fraud, so CEO fraud, if you like. So those are still on the top of the lists. So why do we sit that we do, and why do we do this? We are a non-for-profit association called LSEC, and we have started around 2002 to bring together the expertise that we have from Belgium, but also throughout the rest of Europe on the challenges of digital security. Digital security, as we call it, is related to everything concerning digital transformation. But we call it already digital security catalyst before the hype of the digital transformation. Today, digital transformation means quite different things. It does definitely mean that we are going more and more into the use of digital applications as customers, but also as an enterprise. And definitely we see from this quite a number of challenges. Taking as an example an industrial context, where we see that many factories out there, most of them are small and medium-sized companies, more than 80% doesn't even have a clue what really that digital transformation would need to look like in their own factory. So we've developed a number of applications, and we combined a number of existing technologies to bring those technologies and that digital transformation into a factory to help those companies and those factories in transforming into digital with a bunch of sensors, with dashboards. And so this is just as an example on how this digital transformation could look like. And from this, we obviously see that there are quite a number of challenges, because these factories need to be managed also from the outside. So remote management and remote access to these applications do make sense. Another challenge, also definitely related to manufacturing and in the current crisis situation, is that factories need to be resilient. And so that means that more and more autonomous operating factories where there's robots to be included. And so how to put security into industrial robots is something that we are working on, have been working on for the last couple of years, and will continue to work on, where we are using some of the existing IT security components and technologies and implementing those in an industrial context. And so innovating really in the domain of the robotics and putting cybersecurity for robotics there. So we started with these webinars about 3 months ago now. Every week we have quite a number of them. These are a couple of the ones that you can still find on our website, going from the cyber kill chain, how ransomware and AI are being utilized, or even the use of 5G and 5G security, taking a little bit future forward-looking view. But also in terms of data protection, last week we had a very interesting conversation with Bijnens, who's the president of the litigation chamber of the Belgian Data Protection Authority, on some of the cases. But before that, we've explained some best practices on use of data protection and GDPR compliancy, both in terms of cookie management as well as in managing GDPR from an enterprise context. And today we'll be having Kris Bijnens from Varonis. And when Kris sent his proposed topic to us, we thought, well, this is going to be very interesting, because over the last couple of months, as we are using Zoom as a platform, we have seen a lot of Zoom bashing. And so I was very much welcoming a slightly different perspective, and somebody that can also take a look into see how Teams, for instance, Microsoft Teams, might also be a bit of a concern to us. So Kris, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good. Thanks.
We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, that's good. Yep.
You're still working from home, from your home office?
Yes, I am. Yep.
And how has been? I see that you're wearing your Varonis polo and everything, so you're really completely dressed up. How's the last months been for you? Have you still been able to see some customers and partners?
Yeah, remotely, but it's working like this. So yeah, and it's working for a lot of companies for the moment. So the shift we see is clear, let's say.
So my remote working means that I'm waking up at 5, getting my first conference calls at 7, and finishing my last conference calls at 7. Is it the same for you, or is it a little bit more relaxed?
Yeah, pretty much. My role as an engineer is maybe a little bit different, but yeah.
So
still long
in my
days.
case,
yeah.
last week I went first back into some customer and partner visits, and it felt extremely strange. I think the company in itself only had like 2 employees that just returned the day before to office. And to some extent, I think the new normal is something that we are trying to appreciate and are working with. But you've obviously also discovered that there's actually quite some challenges in this over the last couple of months with Varonis. So do share with us a couple of your thoughts and things that you've seen.
Yeah. Yeah. Do I start the presentation now, or?
Please do so. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let me switch to my presentation then. So.
And I'll unmute myself. I'll mute myself.
Okay. Good morning, and yeah, thanks everybody for joining us. And yeah, also thank you for the invitation. It's the first time I'm presenting with LSEC, Leaders in Security. I am Kris Bijnens, and I'm an engineer, as Ulrich already explained to you, with Varonis for the Benelux and the Nordics. And so today I will talk about what is going on with everyone. Everyone is seeing my screen? Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Thanks. So yeah, today I'm talking about what is going on with remote work and what are we seeing out there in the field in terms of some of the exploits. But what is going on? It is actually like behind the scenes, and it's like the pandemic actually behind the scenes. But if you take a look at the facts and figures of the attacks and malicious activity from the past couple of months, yeah, there is. Some people are talking about like a digital pandemic. And remote users are just easier to hack, and that's what it is all about. Why to do the big effort if you can just hack someone that is unprotected? So users within a corporate environment are more protected than users at home. So what I'm talking about today is like the remote work, how to protect your organization from this, and also yeah, what to monitor. So you have like a DNS, a VPN, a proxy that you might not be monitoring for now, but yeah, you have to start monitoring this. More people are working from home, so from an unsecured personal device or a network, Wi-Fi network, and people are using Microsoft Teams and Office 365 to collaborate remotely, and also sharing the data that through those channels like Office 365, OneDrive, and so on. And many businesses' top priority is business continuity, which means that security has taken a backseat, and files may be opened to everyone a lot easier, and requirements to use the VPN may have been waived. So that's always all enhancing the attackers to get in. The possibility of getting in is getting bigger. So and organizations lack the visibility who is getting in, who is accessing our network and our data. And that's also something we want to make sure to monitor. Which sensitive data on-prem and in the cloud has been touched and exposed. And yeah, this is something we really want to see for sure. Sensitive data that makes sense, and sensitive data that is critical for the company we want to protect even more. And on top of that, security teams and IT teams are overloaded. they have a lot of work lately with tasks and keeping. They need to keep it safe and as safe as possible for their users, also if they are working from home. In the environment of the remote work, of course, attacks are more successful. So I'm going to start with a risk one or an attack, and that's the brute force, which is a dominant attack for the moment, and that's what we are seeing at Varonis, at least. And yeah, actually, it is not a big surprise, as there are more infrastructures remotely working, accessible, and you can see that also in my next slide. I have like a screenshot of Shodan, which is showing you statistics, and you can see a blip at the end of the curve. And this is actually the increase of open RDP ports. But yeah, people are trying to hide the RDP port, but still attackers can see where there is an open port of RDP or VPN 3388 and 3389. So it is important to keep it close, let's say. Brute force related attacks are since a couple of months really increasing, and from this is really like we have done a lot of investigations and we have seen that there is a lot of brute force. This is from the Varonis forensic team. So how this scenario is going, the attacker might find an open VPN on a portal, which Shodan, and tries to a bunch of logins. He's using a Python script for this, and he's just trying to log in, a brute force attack, and he is suddenly he finds like the right password, the right credentials. He's getting in, and then he's going to an RDP session. He's starting an RDP session to a server, and once he has the RDP session, he can act like he's on the corporate network. So, and this is what I'm going to show you now. So again, the attacker is looking for to find a VPN concentrator that is potentially open. And as you can see, there's like 4.5 million results if we look for VPN concentrators that might be open. And this is the same for RDP sessions, or RDP. And then the attacker finds the build secure, and it runs simple Python script to try passwords and usernames. And after that, he's getting in, he's finding the right credentials, as you will see. Yeah, success. So he's getting in, he can log in with on the Pulse Secure, trying to open a remote session with VPN session, and the attacker is in and can use now the machine to search for sensitive data, or start a malware, or do some other malicious things, or try to keep a foothold in the organization. So what are the mitigation steps we could have here? I'm always going to talk about the mitigation as well. Yeah, you might have asked yourself already, like, where is the prompt for the second factor? The multi-factor authentication is missing. Yeah, of course, multi-factor authentication can do a good job for these brute force attacks, but sometimes it gives you also a false feeling of security and a false sense. And we are talking later about this again. Account lockouts, so you can also get a group policy and up and running, and account can be locked out, but there are a lot of drawbacks for this. Accounts can yeah, accounts that doesn't exist. Account that doesn't exist will we cannot lock it out. So that's also a big issue. Also denial of service. The denial of service, it can switch to a denial of service. So a massive amount of locked outs we've seen, and also because the rules are too strict. There are also like low and slow attacks. So you might not have triggered the locked out policy. So that's also a possibility. The next thing is blocking IPs. And try to get the malicious sites blocked, and also blocking IPs from multiple failed attempts. So when we see like there is a someone trying, we are going to block that IP, remote log off that user, and so on. CAPTCHAs, those can be very annoying. It's difficult to read sometimes, and also it doesn't solve the DOS problem. And it is also not always available on each internet-facing application. What definitely can help is to monitor and to have like a user behavior analytics and to get alerted when something like this is happening. And then you can act, you can set a response on an incident like this, like a brute force. And that's also what we are doing at Varonis. You have like the alert, the user behavior, the learning, machine learning. We know exactly that the user is logging in from a specific location always, and then he suddenly is hopping to another location. That's something we trigger, and that's very interesting if you can alert for these things. Here you can see some screenshots of our pre-built threat models that Varonis has to detect brute force attacks, let's say, from VPN, but also from inside to protect your environment. A second risk is phishing. It's a common one, but we see it a lot. And today it is very easy to reach out with phishing. People are clicking on things they are nervous about or they anxious about, and attackers know this, and they will try it. They are creative, and they creating emails like you see here. It is a scam of Rabobank that introduces a antibacterial pay pass. Unfortunately, the email even doesn't have to be that convincing. You can just, people are just clicking without reading. And that's because we are living in an instant world. We want to have everything fast, and that's phishing is really playing on this. So in this scenario, the attacker sends a phishing email, the email looks legitimate, but there is like an attachment and in the email, and or it can be also a link, and the user clicks on the attachment and opens the document. It runs how do you say it, a macro, and then it runs a malware. And the malware is able to establish the CNC channel over DNS. So the attacker is in. So again, you can see the email, and in this attachment there is the malware, the Word document, and the user is clicking on that malware and opens the command and control, the channel through DNS tunnel. So all the commands from the CNC will be given to DNS queries, let's say. And from a yeah, newly compromised machine. Now the attacker will use PowerShell to find out where the sensitive data is and so on. So he can go and figure out what is interesting to do in this environment. What are the mitigation steps for this attack? Security awareness training can definitely help for phishing, and but it needs to be like a continuous process, the year round. And a partner of Varonis called Secubert explained me once they introduced Cyber Ready at a customer, which is a, yeah, no, I'm making publicity for another product, but it is a product that sends out fake phishing mails, let's say, to check if you click or not. And if you click, you get a brief training on the spot. And this is called like JIT, just-in-time learning. And it's really valuable, and it really works. And you can see statistics, and you can see the improvement of your users, and they're getting smarter and don't click on everything they see. So yeah, security awareness training, definitely something worth to invest time in. Bypassing EDR, because you have an AV and an EDR, but it's also possible to bypass those very easily. It's like another day in the office for an advanced hacker. And then we have the monitoring of the network. It's also possible to do, but yeah, that's so many traffic, so many, it's hard for a clear inspection, let's say. And also it might be encrypted, and it can be also very noisy, so it's difficult. Then we have a good one, blacklist known malicious sites. So if you have some intelligence, cyber intelligence tools, or you can blacklist somehow your the malicious sites, or you can work with dynamic blacklists. It's very interesting. But yeah, for sure there are holes in this as well. If your command and control, for instance, starts up from Azure, yeah, you cannot block the old Microsoft.com. So there's also yeah, some holes in this as well. The third risk or attack I want to go over is bypassing the MFA. We already mentioned MFA, and MFA is very good and essential, but it is giving, like I already said, a false sense of security. First, I would like to touch the Teams is really exploding. People are using Teams a lot, and yeah, we can see 44 million daily active users in Teams, and it is very interesting actually to see this. And yeah, that's why I just want to touch this, because this is the collaboration platform today, and it looks like it will be the collaboration platform for everyone in the near future. Yeah, because there is like a lot of activity in Office 365, the attackers knows this as well, and the attacker sets up a man-in-the-middle attack with a fake Office 365 login. The attacker tricks the user to authenticate in that fake page. And of course, he will be asked for his two-factor authentication, and then he can steal actually the authentication cookie, and the attacker can use the cookie again in a new session to get access to everything the user has access to in Office 365. And then, yeah, of course, the attacker can misuse that privilege. Okay, here is it again. So the first thing that the user is getting a phishing email. He's clicking on that phishing email. He gets to this fake page, which looks normal. It looks like legitimate. And even if you try to search for like telltale signs, like the secure browser and so on, then you don't notice that it is fake. If you go and look to the domain, then you can see that. And here is fish.com is used, so it's very clear then. But yeah, they try to obfuscate everything very good. So the user enters his credentials, and he thinks like, I'm going to log into Microsoft because I want to see that document, and he will be asked for his two-factor authentication. He's using Microsoft Authenticator app. He's doing that, and yeah, then he will see the page, and it's actually like transparent for the user. He doesn't notice anything. But in the background, the attacker has a number of out-of-the-box fishlets, let's say, to pick from, and then he's using this to get actually the authentication cookie. And once he has the cookie, he can use it in a new session. So he's copying the cookie from that authentication session, and he is using it now into a new session on the browser. And you can use a tool like eat my cookies, and then you can just insert this in a session. And then if you open a new browser to Outlook, it reminds it thinks you're already logged in, and you're in there. So the attacker can read now all his emails, can do the other things. And also here you can see that it retrieves the email where it all started from. So the phishing email. But yeah, he can now leverage his access to read and send emails, and figure out where the sensitive data is, and upload files, and try to break things. That's what they do. All right, the fourth one, it's a pretty new one, and it's very interesting. It is spinning up an Azure application. And we all have experience now with the applications, because yeah, there are a lot of applications created lately to use in Microsoft Office. So this is looking familiar, I think. And yeah, we also think like, okay, we need to continue, accept, and you click too fast. And that's what is happening in a lot of environments we've seen with applications that has been created in Azure. So how does it go? How does it work here? The attacker sets up a malicious web application in the Azure tenant, and then the attacker tricks the victim for granting access, granting consent, and that's what the user is doing. And then the attacker has access to Office 365. So let's take a look. So we have like a document, and yeah, the user is trying to open it. He sees like, okay, yeah, I need Microsoft Office for this. Okay, I have to accept this. Yeah, and the user is clicking the user is clicking on the accept, and becomes victim of the attack. And then it without reading it, and then it actually happens. So the attacker leverages the app permissions to read sensitive data, and actually the attacker has no API access to emails, OneDrives, all the data on that level. So API level, he can do everything. He can even trick the global policies in the tenant. So, and then he can exfiltrate data, he can look for data, he can do all malicious things again, or start a ransomware, for instance. What are the mitigation steps for this? The Office 365 admin, there is a screen that for the admin that where you can see all your apps and all the the permissions that have been granted. Also monitoring events, don't turn it off. Monitor your Office 365 as the same as your on-prem resources. And also train your users. So don't click and too fast. Security awareness is always popping up. So that's a good one. So the next one, the next risk is the insider threat. And yeah, I've seen a lot of insider threat. I've worked a lot about insider threat as a previous forensic analyst. I have I tried to mitigate a lot of insider threat and to detect and discover and also stop then the threat. And yeah, what is very known is that the user is always want to keep their data because he thinks like it's my data, but it's from the company, from the organization, but it's sensitive, so you cannot keep it and take it home. And that's what employees try to do. They try to collect the sensitive data, and in this scenario, the employee runs a simple script to find sensitive data first, and then put it in a zip file, and then uploads the zip file to his email. So he's using PowerShell in this case, but there's a lot of apps also in the cloud and other tools to figure out which data is valued to me and which one do I want to take home or keep in case of. And then the user is searching for that kind of data, and he's finding it, putting it in a zip file, and uploading that zip file to his Gmail. So this is that easy, but the insider, it's happening all the time. And this is actually data leakage, and we want to stop this. We want to mitigate this. How can we mitigate this? By monitoring your proxy server, for instance, for the upload. You can see there's a unusual amount of data uploaded to a Gmail domain, so it is not normal. And that's why the behavior analytics from a user is also very important, to have a baseline, like what is he doing normally and what is he going to do next time when he tries to exfiltrate data. Also set authentication in the proxy servers. So some people are having proxy servers, but they are not using it correctly. So make sure there is authentication, so you know if you are if you're doing the investigation, you know exactly who was doing this. So these are the 5 attacks I wanted to go over, and all the attacks, of course, it is important. And I want to show you this because it is very important to have in each phase of the kill chain a measure. And yeah, that's obvious, of course. You want to detect from the start to the end what was going on in your environment. The next slide will be Microsoft Teams, and I want to have a little word of Teams. I'm going over this pretty fast, but yeah, it's obvious that there's a lot more of activity in Teams, and yeah, we want to detect if there's something going on and if permissions are set correct in Teams. Teams is a platform where you can share easily data with others, and that's why it is that popular. Let's say people like to use Teams because it is that easy, and it's also a flattened permission structure, not as on-prem. It only has members and owners if you create a team, but there is more. And let me start with this. Teams isn't a data store or a platform. It's just touching all the parts of Office 365. And although the Office 365 offers many applications, data is always stored on OneDrive or SharePoint Online, or maybe in your email, and also in the groups in the Azure AD. So it is using everything actually. So if you have emails, it's on Exchange Online. Users and groups are and permissions are stored in the Azure AD, and in your personal files you can find in your OneDrive, and collaborative data we store in SharePoint's online sites. But if you use Teams, it will use everything. So it will create groups like the member group, the owner group. It will use also Exchange Online. It will create a SharePoint online site where all the data is stored from that team. And yeah, it is everyone can share their SharePoint online data and OneDrive data with anyone inside and outside the organization. And yeah, there is no control anymore. Control and judgment over the sensitive data is delegated to the end users. And there is no centralized control, no centralized monitoring. So you will have blind spots. And that's something we want to create. We want to help to make visible. Where are the blind spots of teams, and who is sharing what with who, and what kind of data are we talking about, and so on. Yeah, what really happened when we create a team? So there is an Office 365 group, as I already explained, the member and the owner group, team, site online. There's also a hidden mailbox for this, and a calendar in Exchange Online, and there is even more. So it is not only Teams, it's using everything in Microsoft Office 365. But yeah, what if you create, if a team member is added to a group, you can see this. Yeah, you can add the member as an owner or a member, and you can see this in Azure AD. If you share a file or you edit a file, you will see this in SharePoint Online. If you share a file outside the team, you will see this also in SharePoint Online. And if you send a file to a chat, it will be stored in your OneDrive. So different platforms, you can see yeah, a lot of actions, but you need to search for it in different platforms. And this is really yeah, something to look at. Configuration is important and should not go unnoticed. Noticed. And yeah, we also did some trainings on how to set up the Azure AD and Azure configuration, let's say, to protect your environment. But yeah, as you know, there's a lot of shadow IT, and that's why companies are starting to see the advantage of turning on like external sharing. And that's just something I want to show with this slide. It is easy to turn on. It used to be that companies were skeptical for this and turned it off, so it was not allowed to share data. But nowadays we see it's more open. Yeah, next slide. So the visibility is a really challenge, as I already said. You have to look for a lot of different portals in Azure. It's called like a portal. You have to search for the different portals to see everything together. There are not all the links are visible in the Azure AD. Site only access isn't visible in Teams. So if you have access to the site or your site collection administrator, you don't see that in the Teams. You don't see that person as a member of the team. There's also application Delve search, and it's really easy to get visibility in what data can I access and where do I have access to. So yeah, also something to look in. OneDrive adds another data storage location, so it's a lot. And even owners can say like, yeah, I would like to have a co-owner because I'm going on holiday. So external that co-owner can also give permissions to an external guest user and a new member without knowing of the original owner of the data. So that's what all is going on in Microsoft Teams. I actually have a full scenario of how it goes in Teams with a lot of people working together in a compensation team, and then try to give access to an external as well through create a team, and granting access is very easy. Everyone can do that, and you can also build channels in this. Sharing the data is that easy that everyone can do that. As you can see here as well, someone drops a file here, and yeah, all the members can see that file, can work on the file, and that's what it all is all about. Then you can share the sensitive data also with non-team members very easily. You can just send the link, the external link to that person, and she can also work. And if you share a file, that file into a chat conversation, it will be stored on James' OneDrive, and Margaret can, as an external, can see that file. But yeah, how do you see this? And I'm going a little bit faster because I see the time. But yeah, how do you see this? It's all stored on different location, and if we come to the conclusion, yeah, IT doesn't have any control. So it's delegated to the end user, as I already said. You also don't have any visibility on, is it sensitive data? So you really want to know, is it sensitive or not? Is it classified? Is it labeled by that user or not? So Teams is very sensitive for this, and it is really easy for data leakage to increase, let's say. But you want to have control on this, and yeah, as you see it again in Azure AD. You don't see Emma as a team member or as a group member. If you go to Teams, you don't see Emma in a team member as well. But yeah, if you go to SharePoint Online, Emma can be here. We see also another person, Kris. So yeah, where is he coming from? So it is very clear that it's not visible in one portal. Microsoft doesn't have a portal to do everything. Everything is separated, and you have to really dig in deep to figure out where you can see the permissions. And that's something we need to start with if we have Teams, to see like, yeah, how is data shared? Is it on site level, on folder level, on file level? Because that's possible, all the three. Yeah, we really want to make sure that that we have control on this. And it is not the same as we used to do on a on-premise file share. On-prem, we had like the complex permission structure. Here it's just flat, is member, owner, and so on, and everyone can share. So a summary for this: who has access to the team data? Yeah, it depends on who you ask. So that's the difficult part of Teams. And team member are visible in Azure AD and in Teams, but not in SharePoint Online. And then owners can also designate a co-owner, which also increases the risk. And then you have also the shared link visibility is not really, yeah, you have to drill down deep to figure out where the shared external links are, the guest links. And site-only access isn't visible in Teams. That's just by design. But yeah, and that's where it comes to Varonis can help you. And first of all, I want to talk about the threat detection and response, as we already have seen, like the attacks. So how can we help for threat detection and response? Varonis has like a dashboard, and here we are collecting on all your resources you add to Varonis. We are collecting yeah, a lot of events, and we will have a dashboard with the alerts. Yeah.
Kris,
showing.
where are you getting the data from in this case?
I'm sorry?
Where are you getting the data from?
From in this here, no? You see?
Yes, indeed. As Varonis, where are you collecting the data from?
Yeah, so from all different kind of data resources. So we have we can monitor Windows files, of course, but also Unix or different multiple data resources, NAS devices, Office 365, and we also collect the VPN logs, DNS logs, proxy logs to make a complete picture in a threat. So and that's what I already said. We want to have a control in each phase of the kill chain, not only what is going on the data. No, we want to see how did the user authenticate before it touches that amount of data and exfiltrated the data.
So it's a combination of both network data as well as in this case then access directory access intelligence, so that you get from the Active Directories, for instance.
Yeah, Active Directory is one of the main source, and our threat models, as you can see here, are built actually on the logs that we get from Active Directory. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I can go a little bit faster on these things, but yeah, you see there's a brute force RDP connection, and yeah, we see unusual data access, and so all the threat models are. And you can see the platform, VPN, Windows, proxy, AD, of course, as well. So before you can touch data, because Varonis is started with the focus on the data, unstructured data. And before you can touch that data, you need to authenticate. So that's why AD logs are very interesting, and you need to have them. You need to be in control of your Active Directory. And that's also what we've seen in our investigations. We have seen a lot of ransomware and malware, also from all the resources that we've monitored.
Yeah, so that was my other question. All of the data and the use cases that you presented, where does that data come from? So it's from your existing customer base in the first place?
Yes, yeah, this is from the Varonis customers. This is where the incident response team has worked on in the investigations in 2019, as you can see. We have a great incident response team, and it also can help you. All our customers have the incident response team ready, and the forensic team. To help them to investigate, and that's why we see a lot of cases here.
Yeah, and so but the Varonis environment itself is basically running on the premise of the customer, or is it also cloud based, or is it a combination?
For the moment, it's on-prem. Exactly. Yeah. So it is not in the cloud yet. But yeah. Who knows? It can come fast. Yeah. I can go on with the presentation. I don't know what the time is now. It's
you can continue. You can. I'll just ask a couple of questions, things that popped up in my mind. And if there's questions coming from the floor is quite wide to be interpreted here. But if anybody has any questions, then they can raise them through the Q&A or through the chat. I didn't ask people at the beginning of your presentation, but most attendees are very much used to this already by now. But yeah, I should say, please go on, continue with this part. I also, because now you're obviously digging into the Varonis platform, which is good. But one of the things I was missing also in the previous explanation about the teams. So you listed out on the previous use cases quite a number of interesting mitigation methods or ways. What about teams? What is the mitigation strategy there? But maybe you continue first with this one.
Yeah. Actually, our next slide is next slides are giving you more visibility on how we do this with Varonis, and that's also an answer on to the question of teams, because in teams, you don't have visibility. Actually, I think if I can just stop share and I just share my lab, I just go to Varonis. That's okay for you?
Yeah, sure.
Let's see to find this. So share screen. So do you see my screen now?
It's popping up. I started screen sharing. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, so here you can see that there is a web interface, and here we can see the alerts in this. And we want to have, like, as I already said, a full visibility. We want to build a story on what was going on, and we enrich all our alerts, and these are like alerts like abnormal behavior, unreasonable geo-hopping, and we enrich them with valuable information like what data are we talking about, which user is it, what machine is it using, is it a privileged account or not, is it an executive, or, and that's also what we do for all our data resources. And as you can see, we have just one visibility, one glass of a pane of glass where we can see all our resources, Unix, all together in the cloud, on-prem resources, and we can do the same for all the resources. And as I said, like, how do we do it with Varonis? We just double click on a SharePoint site, let's say the SharePoint site, which is actually from a team site, and we can immediately see who is the owner, who is what are the members, who are the members, and also if there are like a SharePoint online user or set in SharePoint online and not only in Teams. So we have full visibility here. The same for OneDrive, and we can go to OneDrive, and we can just do this. We can do, of course, a lot more. We also get recommendations here if there are, and with recommendation, I mean, like if Varonis detects like, oh, this user is not the same as his peers, we will recommend to remove that user from that group. So you go to a least privilege model. That's what we all want to lower the risks and to grow in security maturity. If I click on a OneDrive, you can see also the members of who can access this, and if in this case it's Emily Baker, can access the documents of her own full OneDrive. If I go to the dashboard here, you can see that we have a lot of alerts, and we can drill down into alert summary page. Oh, did I click it? View alerts. We go to the alert summary page. If we click on alert details, in this case, it's coming from Exchange Online, and we see an unreasonable geo-hopping, and you get all the information immediately in this one page, like which user is involved, is it a privileged account or not, is it you get a lot of more information here. Is it used? Was he active during the working hours or not? And that's valuable information to start further investigation, which is often missing. And I'm speaking about in experience. As I was looking at Splunk, I needed to look at other sources, resources to figure out what was going on, and to even be able to start the investigation. And Varonis is now giving you everything in just one page.
Yeah, so you mentioned it somewhere in the middle of your presentation, of your talk, and we didn't do the proper introduction to that extent, but you have been a forensic analyst, have you?
Yes, yeah. I've worked for NATO for 3.5 years in a forensic team.
And that's where you have experienced many different tools and tool sets. And so, what was your appreciation? I mean, you already talked about Splunk and challenging things in relation to Splunk. I think there's also many positives there, likely. But what was your experience in using, for instance, open source tools? Because I know that many forensic investigators are using open source tools, including myself.
Yeah, open source tools are really good to use, but the effort is high. So in the first place, you need to have the resources with the knowledge, and then the effort is high. So it's not that fast. And yeah, you want to act fast. You don't want to act if there is an incident after 2 months. you mitigate you mediate all the risks. That's not what you want. You want to act immediately, and you want to get notified when there's something wrong immediately. And to build in, for instance, Splunk, like all the same threat models, like we call it, or notifications, it is not that easy.
Understand.
Yeah.
So one of the elements on this is, of course, working with external intelligence. Also, considerations like security orchestration. Is that also something that you're working with, and how do you integrate, for instance, open source intelligence into this platform?
Yeah, open source intelligence, not really. But yeah, in Varonis, let's say. But we have like intelligence. We are connected to Webroot, where we know that if we see an IP, because we see all the IPs where the activity is from, and we also resolve those IPs into device names if possible. So you get all the information immediately. You don't have to do that manually. But we also compare it, and we try to get the intelligence from Webroot to give more. To see if it is a malicious site or not, to do that in just one platform. That's what I can tell about intelligence in Varonis.
Yeah, okay, that's fair enough. And things like security orchestration, is that something that's already part of the capabilities?
Yeah, security organization for sure. Yeah. Also for because there's a lot of roles in Varonis, so you can have it is actually full security platform. So you can do a lot of things. A lot of teams can work with the platform. It is not limited to the IT to do the IT team. It is also for executives. We have dashboards, so you can do the full security. We have high-level executive dashboards where you can see the risks immediately. So, and you can we have a journey of value where you work to increase the security maturity to the end, and it's step by step. First you detect, you discover, then you prevent, you fix the issues, and then you try to automate to have everything automated, resolved if there are issues.
Right. So Microsoft now has its Azure Sentinel platform. That's also doing quite extensive reporting. That also has a very tight integration with Active Directory. How do you relate as Varonis from there? In any case, as you were mentioning, things like Teams are not very well covered. We do see Teams popping up every next minute with enterprise customers. I think it has to do with the smart deal that Microsoft is adding to the Office 365 licensing. Just add Teams to it, and then it's a good sweetener. But it also brings quite a lot of security considerations here, as we can see.
Yeah.
So how does this platform relate to Azure Sentinel, for instance?
Azure Sentinel is actually very new, so I haven't seen it working like we hear about it, but it's like more the SIEM side, and we as a Varonis platform, we are not a SIEM solution. We try to get you alerts. We want to alert, and we want to show you an alert dashboard with high fidelity and actionable alerts. And that's not the same as a SIEM. You bring all the logs together, and then you need to build a query to get your information out of there. And that's maybe the goal of Microsoft to compete with all the other SIEM solutions with Sentinel. But I don't have any experience with Sentinel.
Okay, so we had a webinar a couple of weeks ago with on this, amongst other things, from Microsoft. So I think it might be useful to just take a look into that one as well.
Yep.
And I think maybe over the next time or so, we'll invite you back and then have some additional experiences shared. Because I think we will be seeing you back, Kris, in any case, likely with some new things that you found. Were there still a couple of slides left that you wanted to share?
We can go, yeah, it's just the end. I can talk about Varonis, but let's see if I can. Oh, I know it's popping up the wrong screen. Stop share. Share again. If there's still 5 minutes left, I just finish my presentation.
Yes,
indeed.
of course. Please
and
do so.
Then, yeah, what I was talking about here, you can see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, so what I was doing here, it is, yeah, just what I already told you. We have
just for you to know, we can now see your slides in presentation, in presenter mode. So
okay,
that's maybe just a minor detail.
That's strange. I clicked on sharing the right screen, but so no, it should be fine.
Yeah, this is perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. So we see clean events, row events, row logs, and then you have a pod, you have an object that has been modified, for instance. But we enrich that in Varonis, we enrich that event and we bring on more context. Like, is this an executive account? Like I already said, a privileged account. Where is it acting from? The geolocation? Is it sensitive or not? Is it classified, labeled? And then what we also talked about is the IP. Is it a malicious IP or not? So everything to enrich, to give more context. Also the behavior analytics, we baseline, we know exactly this user is using always this machine, it's an executive, it's doing this, it belongs to this peer, it touches this amount of data, of sensitive data, and so on. And that's how we can find out if there's something wrong, if this user might be compromised. And that's how we detect it and how we will alert you on this. And then you can see this in a summary page with all information at once. Forensics are fast because of this, and we can show you millions of events in the web interface, and just clicking really fast, analyzing the data. And this is also because I've seen a lot of APT, but it is, yeah, how to detect APT. There are a lot of IOCs. You can start sweeping your network, but it's also interesting to see how the data, because everything drills down to the data, to the sensitive data. People want to get hold on the data, and so if you monitor the data, you are, yeah, you're in a good security way, and you will detect APTs as well, just by watching the behavior on the data. Yeah, Qbot attack flow, it is just the full kill chain, and we try to have a measure in place for all steps. I'm just going over this a little bit faster. Yeah, and then we have the baseline activity, where we have then also the DNS and web proxy and VPN and AD events, where we can give you more insights in what happened. We have the incident response team ready to help, and it's actually in the license of Varonis, so all our customers can make use of that. Yeah, then I wanted to show you something in Teams, but yeah, that's it, and I'm open for questions.
Right, and questions we already had, and
yep.
We had to get some positive reactions from our attendees that they especially liked your perspectives in the Azure and Teams components. So that's great. Okay, well, thanks in any case. I'd say I'm more or less out of questions for now, but I think there's many things that have, in any case, raised our attention and interest. And so I'm pretty sure that we can come back at another point in time to discuss a little bit more in detail about some of the things that you've showed. So I'd say thanks in any case for sharing those very interesting views and thoughts with us, Kris. I think it's been great having you. Also having your experience and ideas make that very true and sensible. And maybe we can come back and ask you also for some thoughts on things like, for instance, forensics, because this is a topic really that is something that we have on the spot of our things to do, but sometimes difficult to find the right people, especially here as well, to talk about these things. Not to go into detail about some of the cases, but in any case to get people to understand better how they should prepare for those types of activities. And I've learned that you also have some experiences in Top Gun. So maybe you should share some of those experiences as well at some point in time.
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to speak. Yeah.
Great. And then we need to ask you for some video materials as well, obviously. Okay, so let me finish off then by just highlighting a couple of other things that we have scheduled. So next week we'll continue our Cybersecurity Experts from Home series with Udo from Trend Micro. One of the challenges that we've talked about today was really about how home users, and in this case the remote users from home, should need to be taken better into consideration when it comes to security concerns. But other considerations are, of course, when you start managing your production, your environment, your offices from the outside. We talk about IoT. So IoT security for enterprise and industry is what we'll be talking about next week, Tuesday. And already as a start on this, tomorrow morning, we'll be having a discussion with Gerhard from Fortrock, who is the VP on specifically IoT and manufacturing, on how to manage a zillion devices out there, which could be manufacturing sensors or which could be also devices that have been produced by, in this case, the manufacturers. So that's all from our side this morning. We're on a bit over time, but that's okay given the fact that we are recording these things and people can always fast forward afterwards. So with this, I'd say thank you very much. Thank you very much, Kris, also to you. And I'm looking forward to seeing you again in the very near future.
Yep, thank you.
Have a nice day and stay safe and healthy. Bye-bye.